pros and cons. Unfortunately, something like this sounds amazing on the surface, but it's not all sunshine and roses. Like with everything, everything is going to have pros and cons, but I'm going to go over those now, starting with the pros. So, working alongside industry professionals with years of experience in the racing and drifting space. I briefly touched on this earlier, but any information, any tips you can take from any individuals in a real race team are priceless. Understand that if you are trying to make this into a career, these guys are the professionals and they have had the first-hand experience. Take any information they give you and run with it. It is first-hand knowledge that a lot of other people in the sim world will never have access to. You know, it is, like I said, it is priceless information from the front line of working in the industry. It's there for you. If they give it to you, trust me, take it on board. It is helpful, no matter what it might be. Just even if you just like write it down and keep it for a rainy day, whatever. Just take on board what you can from these people who you are going to be working with in this situation. So potentially getting to interact with big brands. This one kind of depends on the level of depth you go into with a team. I myself have been lucky enough to have interactions with some of Federico's sponsors, one being Sparco, which without my connection and partnership with him would most likely have never happened. Again, these are experiences that a lot of people will never get to have, so make sure you cherish them if you get the opportunity. Try, if you get to speak to a big brand, try and make a contact there. Try and keep in touch with them as much as possible. It's an easier way into getting in touch with these brands and getting to know them instead of, having to try and send an email or like an Instagram DM or whatever, which might never be seen. And so it is an easier way into the door to talk to big names within the racing space. Extra exposure for your social media platforms. This one is just a little nice bonus. Don't think that when you're going to suddenly become viral because you're now linked with a professional driver or team. But you will receive some extra exposure to your content, and that may be from an audience that you would never have reached before. This is something you need to capitalize on, which annoyingly I myself have done a pretty poor job of over the years since I've been with Triple F. It's something I kick myself for, and I wish I had done better with my socials. Collaborating on posts on Instagram. They even gave me the login to the Triple F Instagram so I could post about my sim events and stuff. And I'll admit it firsthand, I didn't make the most of that, and I kind of slacked on it. So in this kind of situation, do as I say, not as I do. Try and push your socials as much as possible when you are in a position like this. This one, it's just a cool feeling to represent someone you've looked up to. For a lot of us, these pro drivers are our idols, and to get to represent them officially with their backing is a very cool feeling. It is something to take pride in, as they are trusting you with their image and their brand. If you are lucky enough to do this, you've got to be very proud of that. I'm representing Federico, who has been a top level driver since like 2008. He's an OG in the drifting scene. He's competed all over the world, and he has trusted me, some sim driver who we'd never even spoken to before until the COVID pandemic, with representing his brand, his name. And I'm very proud of that, because not, like I said, again, it's a thing that not many people will get to do, and for somebody of his caliber to be able to give me that opportunity is something you have to cherish. And then opportunities outside of the simulator. For me, this is the biggest pro of all of this. So, for example, last year after my first event win in VDC, I was flew out to Italy to drive a real drift car for the first time. It wasn't just some cut knuckle BMW or anything like that. It was a genuine Team Orange Skyline that made over 400 horsepower. It was a moment that I will personally never forget, and it's something I will forever be grateful for to Federico and the whole of the Triple F team for the opportunity. These things can also lead to bigger opportunities like competing in real life and beginning to turn this hobby that you've had into a career. If they are willing to give you the tools to succeed, you have to grab that opportunity with both hands and absolutely make the most of it. And like I said, with everything, there are pros and there are negatives. So unfortunately, these are the the negatives to a partnership like this. So if you are someone who struggles with a long-term commitment to things, I would suggest this is not the kind of thing you should chase. These partnerships are something that will be expected to last, for me anyway, at like a minimum of around 2 years, maybe longer if there are contracts in place. So you can't go to one driver and begin to represent them and tell them you're going to do this and this for them, and then after a few months or so decide you're bored of the project and then want to do something else. It's not a good look for you or the Assetto or the sim community as a whole, and it could leave a sour taste in the driver or team's mouth, and then they might not want to commit to working with the sim driver community again after that. And then there's being PG at all times and carrying yourself in a professional manner in everything you do. This one isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I understand for some people that they just want to be who they are and say what they want. Unfortunately, for those kinds of people, this is a business environment and you have to be professional. I'm not saying to like completely change your personality or be fake in any way, but if you do something that will be seen in the public eye, try and be PG with it at least. You know, you can have a laugh, you can make it funny, you can have a joke, but just try and be PG. Try and just keep it a professional image on at least all your socials and in any competitions if you do interviews, stuff like that. A lack of freedom in terms of car and livery choice. I know this could be the biggest turnoff for some people when it comes to this, because I know a lot of people like to drive whatever they want with their own kind of flair and style. So for the most part, you will be tied down to a certain car and livery choice. For instance, I've driven the Ferrari in VDC competition now for the past 3 seasons with no changes to it other than the livery when we switched from the full yellow base to the white Pennzoil livery. The only time I get to drive something different is when I compete in a series that uses a set car pack, like VDM for this season. For example, I'm using the BMW F22 Eurofighter. However, in these instances, I will still have to run a livery that somewhat resembles the FD car. So all the sponsors have to be present and in the correct location. Colors have to match. There may be some cases where a team or a driver is cool with you choosing your own car to drive as long as their partners are displayed clearly on the vehicle, or you run a livery similar to them. But there's always going to be a compromise with this kind of thing. You're never going to be able to run your own car and run your own style of livery and stuff just with their partners, because it's a bit of a long shot. These teams and drivers have a commitment together where they're working together, and if a driver is going to them now and saying, hey, look, we've also got this sim driver who is representing us in the biggest sim competitions around the globe that gets thousands of viewers. And then if Pennzoil, let's say, were watching VDC and all of a sudden I had a big Fanatec logo down the side of my car or something, it's not going to look good on them because, just because I wanted that on my car, they're not going to be happy. And the last thing... Oh, sorry, I missed a point here. Could be a turn-off when it comes to getting your own personal sponsorships or partnerships. So this kind of ties into something that Alan said on the call from a couple of weeks ago about getting sponsors and partnerships for yourself. One of the biggest selling points you have as a sim driver to companies is your car. That is your billboard. That is your blank canvas. But if that billboard is covered in other companies' logos that aren't necessarily a direct relation to you as yourself, it can be a turn-off for them. If they are providing you with goods or a monetary compensation, they're going to want a nice big logo on their car that's visible on live streams and in media. But if you have a bunch of other logos that have to stay in a certain location, this can be hard to pull off. So, again, say with me, because our title sponsor is Pennzoil, if I went and got sponsored by Sim Magic, for example, I'm not, but just run with me. So I put a nice big Sim Magic sponsor on the side of my car because they've sent me some equipment to use. And then if Pennzoil see that I'm doing that, and then their logo is a tiny little logo now, like on the quarter panel, they're not going to be happy because they're paying big bucks in real life to have that logo on the side of the car. And this sim car is meant to be a direct copy of that, just representing them in a different, world and in the sim world, still to thousands of viewers. And if Federico's gone to them and said, "Yeah, look, if you watch this, your logo is on display on my car," they're not going to be best pleased. So it can be difficult to pull off your own personal sponsorships when doing something like this. And lastly, there is the pressure of working with these guys. Understand that with this position, there is a pressure that comes with it. You have the weight of an entire organization on your shoulders while competing. Even if the driver or team says it doesn't matter, or as long as you're trying your best, that's all that matters. Deep down, you're always not going to be happy with a bad result. You're going to be instinctively feel like you have let people down, and this can be hard to get over at first. Over the years for me, I've learned to deal with this, and the pressure has felt less and less. But it can be a big hurdle to begin with. I remember my first ever event where I competed for Triple F. It was DMVC in 2021, and the first event I qualified fifth, but then got knocked out in the top 16. And I remember when I got knocked out, I was super bummed. I turned my PC off. I didn't talk to anyone. I even went on a walk to clear my mind. I called Federico and I was apologizing and I was saying I'm sorry for messing up, even though like what I'd done was enough to qualify me for the final like winner takes all like big eyes event. And Federico sat there and he comforted me and he said, "Look, what you've done is amazing. It's your first ever attempt." And even after that call, it was still hard for me to think about what I'd done because I thought I'd screwed up. There is a lot of like I said, there's a lot of pressure that comes with this. There's a lot of eyes on you because you're this big name driver now that has you're representing a huge team and a huge driver from real life. So I know competitions as they are can be stressful for people. There can be a lot of nerves, and if you are someone that struggles with that, this is another layer of added pressure that you have to understand that you're going to be taking with you.